Hello everybody. In this video we're going to go over our second type of vector multiplication. It's called the cross product. The cross product. So to distinguish this from the dot product, the first little star we can write is that the answer, you take the cross product of a vector with another vector, the answer is another vector. Another vector. And the thing about this vector is it's actually orthogonal to the two vectors that we crossed to get it, but we'll cover that in another video. It's actually besides the point right now. But when you take two vectors, so you have the vector A given by A1, A2, A3, and another vector B given by B1, B2, B3, right? Let's say we want to take the cross product of A and B. That would be defined, we would write that as A crossed with B. And what this gives us is another vector. We'll call it, I don't know, of course we'll call it vector V. But yeah, your answer is a vector quantity. It's literally another directed line segment. But how do we calculate a cross product? And this is going to seem rather strange if you've never worked with matrices before, or you don't know what a matrix is yet. Sorry, a matrix, not a matrice. If you don't know what a matrix is, just hold on and bear with me until we create our playlist with on matrices. But basically it's just the determinant of that matrix. So A crossed with B, this is the notation, is equal to, if I write a matrix here and I put AI, J hat, and K hat in the top row, and then I write vectors A's components in the second row, A1, A2, A3, and then I write vector B's in the next one over here, B1, B2, B3. Now, here's how you take a cross product. It's not as neat as taking a dot product. It's not like a nice quick formula. You have to just do this every time, or else you want to try to memorize it, good luck. But let's go ahead. So the way I do it is I first hold my hand over the first row. I kind of white it out, if you want to do that. But then I find the product of A2 and B3, A2 times B3, and then I subtract from that the product of A3 and B2, A3 and B2. And remember how I said the answer is going to be a vector. So we multiply this scalar here, this number, by the unit vector I hat. Okay? So that's because I crossed out I hat first. That's what goes over here. Okay, that's a good way to remember it if you want. Next, we white out the next column over here, J hat, and I take the product A1, B3, and I subtract this, minus A1 times B3, minus, because what I'm doing here is I'm continuing this going across pattern like that, hence the word cross product if you want to call it like that, minus A3 times B1 times B1. And now we multiply, since I crossed out J first, this is now going to be multiplied by the unit vector J hat. Next, I would cross out K. If I want to rewrite this, but I would cross out K hat next. And the ones that aren't crossed out, it would be this, but if I hit undo, I'd undo this. So actually, let me write another matrix over here. Right, so now I have A1, A2, A3, and B1, B2, B3. So last time I crossed out J hat, now I'm going to cross out K hat. And this time, notice I'm going to add Not subtracting anymore, I'm adding the product A1 times B2 times B2 minus, now I go across this way, A2 times B1. You see, it's just a pattern that repeats itself over and over again. So in that sense, it's close to the dot product. But it's also just very awkward times k hat. Okay? So just a quick review. All I did was I whited out the first column. Then I came over to the 4 entries that weren't whited out. And I took the product along the left sloping diagonal with the right sloping diagonal. I took the difference of those, multiplied it by I hat, and then I whited out the second column, and then I took the product of the other ones that weren't whited out in that step, and I took their differences of the product of the diagonals. And once again, once we go over matrices and their determinants, the cross product is going to be much more easier to compute as we discover other ways to compute determinants. But as for right now, this is the way we calculate the cross product of two vectors. And in the next coming videos, we're going to develop other ways to calculate it and do a bunch of practice to make sure we have it down packed. So I'll see you then.